So I really wanted to keep politics out of what I talked about on this channel, just because it just started with my communicating migraines and being sort of supplemental to my book, but that's just impossible. I'm living in a siege in Minneapolis, in South Minneapolis, and I attended a protest yesterday. It was negative 20 below. The amount of people there truly shocked me, and I was very nervous because, like, covering from Lyme's disease, I don't know how my body was going to take it. I had all my warmest gear, and I was just putting it all on in my apartment in here. I was sweating profusely to the point where, like, I had to take off my base layer, completely change it out because it was soaking wet, and towel myself off. And then I go outside, and it's just like stepping onto Mars. I mean, like, occasionally that happens where it's actually warmer on Mars than it is here. And I got to drove through the city. It was parked by U.S. Bank, and I mean, it was astounding that this many people were capable of handling negative 20, and I was kind of shocked and almost humiliated because I struggled with it. Even with my toes were frozen, and I couldn't do this march that you're witnessing because there were too many people, and I came from the far side. It just didn't move where I was, and I calculated the time and got an understanding of where it was beginning and ending. It was going from the U.S. Bank Stadium to the Target Center, and that's not short. That's from one end of the city to the other. But you know, then you go home, and then it's like on CNN, hundreds Braves leaving. So, but then I woke up this morning, and I had to check in with my father, and he was going to pick him up in airport, and I get a message, and I start reading, there's another murder. And this is strange because it's even closer to me than the others. I have to sort of mention this is because in this complicated section of my writing towards the end of my book, I have this toxic friendship, and you know, I had psychologists ask me why I hadn't killed myself in 10 years, or why I hadn't killed myself, and then I stopped seeing psychologists for a long time, and I met a friend, and she was sort of in place, took the place of a psychologist in the sense of, like, I would tell her things I wouldn't normally tell anyone, but it ended up being a very toxic friendship, and it, like, had a very chaotic, dramatic ending, and I write about it, and I'm not going to describe it or scream it, but it takes place at a specific place, and it's right there. That building you see in the corner. The restaurant's not there anymore, but that's where it was. And I scream at her there. She was a host, and I leave just into the cold winter, and now that is a memorial site for a murder. Another.
Julian Morgan, the various video angles that captured the shooting do not match the narrative from Homeland Security officials, and state officials say they've been shut out of the investigation despite having a warrant from a judge. 37-year-old Minneapolis man and U.S. citizen Alex Pretti was protesting ICE and recording video in the middle of the street at Nicollet Avenue and 26th Street when one video shows him try to help a woman who was pushed down by a federal agent. Video shows an agent spray Pretti in the face. He struggles with several of them, and they shoot him multiple times. After the shooting, Homeland Security officials shared a photo of a handgun and magazines they recovered from Pretti. Secretary Kristi Noem characterized it like this.
This individual went and impeded their law enforcement operations, attacked those officers, had a weapon on him, and dozens of rounds of ammunition. Wishing to inflict harm on these officers, brandishing like that.
But Pretti never brandishes the gun or even reaches for it in any of the videos publicly posted. And look at this. A federal officer pulls Pretti's gun from the back of his pants on this video as the agent next to him draws his weapon. That agent then fires all or most of the 10 shots we can hear after Pretti was disarmed right in front of him. Normally, the state's Bureau of Criminal Apprehension would begin a use of force investigation.
But unfortunately, in these recent events, others outside of the state are making decisions that does not occur.
BCA Superintendent Drew Evans says after federal agents blocked them from the crime scene, they got a warrant from a judge. Remarkable, considering the crime scene is a public street.
But we did that attempting to have judicial approval to enter this scene to gather evidence. We were once again blocked by federal authorities to go in and do that scene examination.
Noem made it clear that Homeland Security investigations would be conducting any investigation of their own federal officer, while Evans in Hennepin County.
So because this is so much closer, I'm in my apartment listening to the helicopters all day. This is what was going down. They were blocking the road after it. Done that walk many times down that street. And I can only listen to the helicopters so much. I was supposed to have lunch with a friend today, and he said it was like he's not going to come into the city to visit me, and I walked down there alone. I had no idea it was going to be a riot down there. It's just sort of a helicopter hovering, and that's just a sign that people are gathering. And on the walk there, I see a guy who's by himself, and he's got a jerry can and a lighter, and I try to catch up to him to take a photo. I can't because of my gloves, because it's still like -7, so I couldn't get my camera to work, take the picture, and I also couldn't catch up with him. And I wanted to interrogate him. I just was like, okay, this could be an outsider just coming to burn shit like 5 years ago. And I just wanted to run up to him, grab him by the collar of the neck, and tell me, like, okay, name 3 bars that have closed in the past few years. Name 5 bars. Name 10 businesses, restaurants, bars. And because I know, like, South Minneapolis is just filled with outside journalists, some protesters who have come from out of states supporting us, but like against ICE, but also you're not from here. And the outside pro-ICE agitators, and ICE is not from here either, and they're murdering people who are. And it's, I talk with my parents, and family, they all have advice on what to do and not to do, and it's like I don't know what to make of that, because it's like, look at that situation, I probably would have acted exactly as he did with a camera, a phone out. So the guy with the jerry can, he just vanished into the crowd, and then I just sort of gave up, and there was just a procession of people towards the school where there was a vigil, and I just went to that, and I didn't quite make it to the spot of where it happened. There was too many people, and it's explaining it to people, like, on the way to the airport, I saw the Blackhawks taking off, which was odd because I didn't see it overhead. It must have been really high up. And the highways are just filled with vehicles just abandoned from people who've gotten abducted, and their vehicles are just left there. I don't know what tomorrow brings, or how this feels like just an intentional escalation, intentional provoking. This seems coordinated. My friends aren't going back by conspiracies that this seems like a gang within ICE almost, or just provocateurs within ICE, and giving immunity, because the statements of just denying what happened so quickly and so flawlessly and without anxiety or any apprehension of just the calm demeanor in which Kristi Noem is just painting a very different picture of what happened, and so quickly just makes it feel like this wasn't something she's responding to today. I don't know, but it just feels that way. This is what, the definition of a police state is when you change your behavior based off a police preference, and I'm doing that. Got into an argument with my father about leaving the house without an ID, and I said, like, if I'm just going for a walk, what, and do I need that? When I went to the vigil, I put my phone on airplane mode, just not to give them the data point that I was there. Being more vigilant about covering my face. I'm going to try reaching out to more people, and I've talked to some other people about I'm not going to protest alone anymore. And it's strange because I spent yesterday just recovering, because my legs are cramping up a lot. I don't know what the problem is, and I still haven't gotten these test results for a heart study, and I actually canceled the doctor's appointment just to be able to go to the protest yesterday at -20, and
why is ICE in Minnesota? Because Minneapolis and Minnesota have functioning welfare states. Because Minneapolis and Minnesota are parts of the United States that work. They're parts of the United States where people actually are able to live more or less free lives. That is why ICE is there, to try to prove that that doesn't work, to try to destroy it, to try to create an image of chaos where things in fact had been functioning before.